we're going to get into our A block in just a moment. We're going to be talking about the broad strokes of women and women's health, to be specific. But before we get into that, we thought we'd bring you up to speed on one of the largest health providers of women's health and just plain health in the world, Planned Parenthood. So first slide coming up right here. We're looking at the background of Title X. Now, Title X was a program that started under the Nixon administration, and it's the most comprehensive and only real focus on family planning that the federal government has instituted and followed through with funding. In fact, in 2015, Title X health centers provided 800,000 Pap tests approximately, and more than 1 million breast exams, and 6 million screenings for sexually transmitted infection tests for both men and women across the country. In fact, 6 in 10 women who access care for Family Planning Center consider it their main source of health care. So just to contextualize that, more than half of the women who visit these centers, that's their primary source of health care. The point of entry for everything that's going on in their bodies comes through these centers. I'm going to take you to some more numbers to drill down a little bit on what that means in New York. Now, the annual funding for Planned Parenthood in New York is about, the annual funding for Planned Parenthood as a whole is about $550 million from the federal government. And of that money, New York City receives about $11 million in those funds by the time it trickles down from the feds to the state level to New York City. $7 million in Medicaid reimbursements are also going to Planned Parenthood for the services that they provide to folks who are Medicaid recipients. There are an estimated 60,000 people in New York City per year who are qualified for Medicaid who come through those Planned Parenthood centers. Now, I'm going to take you one other step beyond here, looking at Planned Parenthood services. Just what services are all of those New Yorkers getting? Well, they utilize them for screenings for STIs, as well as HIV testing, cancer screenings, and contraception, a myriad of things that Planned Parenthood provides. They also offer referrals to specialists who deal with serious conditions such as endometriosis, which we're going to get into at length when we start our discussion of the A block. So that's just a little glance at some of the services provided by Planned Parenthood. And now we're going to talk specifically about what they do in women's health in the A block.
So just last week, the U.S. Senate narrowly voted to repeal guidelines that, to quote the Christian Science Monitor, explicitly prevented states from denying Title X funds to clinics that also provide abortion services, like Planned Parenthood health centers. Vice President Mike Pence had to cast the deciding vote, and now President Trump is expected to sign the bill.
Well, to talk about what this change could mean for thousands of New Yorkers, we're joined by another vice president, Christina Chang. She's the VP of Public Affairs for Planned Parenthood, New York City. Welcome to BK Live.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And we also have Dr. Sallie Sarrel, a physical therapist specializing in pelvic health and an expert on one very common health issue faced by women who use these clinics, endometriosis. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here, both of you. Christina, if we could start with you. Sure. Planned Parenthood offers a variety of services, only 3% of which are actually abortions, as we learned earlier. But a lot of the ones that you do are unknown to watchers. Brian mentioned a few. Can you tell us more about what you do?
Sure. So at Planned Parenthood of New York City, we provide a full range of sexual and reproductive health care services. So you heard some of that. It's breast exams, it's cervical cancer screenings, it's sexually transmitted infections testing and treatment, HIV testing. We also do we prescribe birth control and pregnancy testing, options counseling, and as well as abortion services. So
and
the full range. And vasectomies. We just started to do that in Brooklyn.
That's right. Many people might not know that a lot of men visit Planned Parenthood, right? What are some of the services that men might not know are out there for them there?
Well, the vasectomy services are brand new, but we also do a lot of the sexually transmitted infection testing and HIV testing. Some new services that we also have just started are PrEP, which is pre-exposure prophylaxis for folks who may be at very high risk of HIV infection.
Right.
So it's a pill a day, and if taken correctly, really reduces your likelihood of getting HIV infection. And we just started transgender hormonal therapy, so gender-affirming therapies as well. So there's a range of new services that we provide, and we really want to try to be able to take care of all of the sexual and reproductive health care needs of New Yorkers.
Excellent. Sallie?
So we saw that Planned Parenthood is a point of entry for a lot of people who don't have a regular doctor or a primary care person. So for you, who are an expert in dealing with a specific problem that a lot of women may encounter, what would that mean for you if those women weren't even funneled to you to help them with this issue? How would people find themselves to specialists and other health care?
To lose the option to go to Planned Parenthood would be an absolute disaster for the women, not only in New York City, but nationwide, because it is first-line defense, a gatekeeper for so many women that need access to care, that just can't access care any other way.
Christina, what are other obstacles that you see if we were to lose this funding?
It's both Title X funding as well as what the Republicans have put on as a defund of Planned Parenthood, which would in fact make us ineligible to get reimbursed for Medicaid. So about 60,000, we have 60,000 patients in New York City. Over half of them are Medicaid enrollees, and so that would severely it would severely cut our ability to see those patients and to get reimbursed for it. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that that doesn't happen. And so I think so that's what's at stake. And with Medicaid funding, there's already a federal prohibition to be using funding for abortion services. Right. So what this means is it's cutting people off from basic preventive services, all these services, everything but abortion care. And so I mean that's the irony I think that's out there.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So how did this become so politicized then? If the amount of abortion work that happens is so minuscule compared to the other things, and when people hear Planned Parenthood, that's immediately where they go to.
Well, I think that, if, the number you cited, the 3%, is a national number. Here, you'll see variation across cities and states, and so it's a little higher in New York.
Like 650 centers across the country.
Correct. And so you'll see some variation regionally. And so the numbers in New York City are, in terms of abortion services, are a little bit higher. But I think that part of this is because we take a stand at Planned Parenthood to offer the full range of services and to be able to make sure, to trust people to make the best decisions for themselves and their families, right? And so it's really being able to walk them through what their options are and have them make that choice for themselves. And I think that because of our commitment to that, I think that we are in the crosshairs of a lot of organizations and individuals who don't support that bringing that decision and allowing people to make it for themselves.
So Sallie, one of these major services that is provided, right, is endometriosis education, which is something that, as we mentioned before, you are an expert in. Can you tell us a little bit about this condition?
Right, so endometriosis is a condition in which tissue that is similar to, but not the same as, the lining of the uterus is found elsewhere in the body. And it can cause debilitating cramps, pelvic pain, back pain, painful sex, as well as a lot of bowel dysfunction, IBS-like symptoms, and difficulty with urination and with constipation as well. And it's a very common condition that nearly 176 million women worldwide suffer from. And we think approximately 6 million women in the United States suffer from. And women need to take their health care very seriously and have this condition treated.
So you spoke about some of the things that present as symptomatic of that, including things that people say like overlook diagnosis because it is, my stomach is acting up. Is it that time of the month kind of thing?
It could be this, it could be that.
Yeah, so how would people know that they should take it a step further? Like when it's the difference between, okay, this is discomfort or this is something I should talk to my doctor about?
So if it's discomfort that's interfering in your ability to go to school, to go to work, to participate in your relationships, then it's time to talk to your first-line defense physician, be it your physician at Planned Parenthood or your nurse practitioner or physician on your own.
So what kind of treatments are available?
So when it comes to endometriosis, the gold standard for treatment in the US and worldwide, we are hoping one day is to be excision surgery, in which they put a small hole in through the belly button and they go in with a laparoscope and they look fully at the disease and take the disease out at its root. Currently, many physicians choose to burn off just the top of the disease, which you could see leaves the rest of the disease behind it left behind. Excision would take care of that. Then I'm a physical therapist and I work with the person after surgery to help get them better from all the compensation that the endometriosis has caused throughout their lifetime.
Gotcha. So knowing about these services that Planned Parenthood provides and looking at the numbers, whether New York is a little bit outpacing in abortion services, the sort of Trump deal was on the table where he's like, all right, you can have this I'm sorry, I got into a Trump voice. You can have $550 million that will continue to fund you federally if you just say, all right, no more abortions. Now looking at the big picture of that, some people would say, all right, jump at the deal. You can do 97% of the work that you do fully and you just take away this little 3%. Keep the $550 million. This is a no-brainer, but that's not the position that your executive takes.
No. So this is, and the thing is, well, one is the president actually can't just sort of by decree say that that this funding will be available to us. Like I said, the $550 million, the large percentage of it, this is a national number, comes from Medicaid reimbursement. So it's only reimbursed from services that we deliver, right? And to turn our backs and to say that we can't offer a full range of options for people so that they can be the best parent that they want to be when they want it, I think goes back on our commitment for people to really, I think that to make the best determination for themselves and for their lives.
So Christina, you won't turn your backs on us. We appreciate that so much. What can we do to voice our concerns and to protect our health here in the city?
Well, there's a lot that we can do. I think that one of the things that we tell people is that they should be sharing their own stories. I think that we had just had a lobby day with our Congress representatives in D.C. last week, and we had a patient advocate with us. And I think they have to really understand that these are real lives. These are not just numbers, but they really affect people. So talk to your families and friends. Talk to write an op-ed, get your story out, write it online, and share that with your Congress members. You need to be able to talk to them about to stave off the attempts to appeal the Affordable Care Act, because the health insurance is so important for people to be able to maintain access to care. And you can go to istandwithpp.org and be able to get connected with your members of Congress. I think now we are seeing the nominee for the Supreme Court, Neil Gorsuch, coming up, and I think that we need to take a stand with our senators to also say that we don't stand behind someone who has repeatedly stood up against Planned Parenthood and the access for our patients to care, and against access to birth control, really fundamental things. We're not even talking about the full range of services, including abortion, but we're talking about birth control, and we shouldn't be having this fight now. Yeah. And I think that the other things they can do, you can volunteer, we have an activist council, so we're ready and willing to bring on people on board so that we can keep you active and motivated and continuing to push on with this fight. And we'd love folks to sign up for our email. So if you go and find us at PPNYC Action or follow us on social media at PPNYC Action, we can give you updates and emails and let you know how to continue to stand with Planned Parenthood and our patients and the services we provide.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us.
You've got your marching orders.